Good morning. Good morning. Today, Fall Edition 2025, it is Feisty Friday. Feisty Friday, and I am Thing 2 today. Thing 2. All right. So, Feisty Friday is indoors today because it is raining, and the doggie, the star of the show, does not want to go outside in that rain. She went out. She acted very miserable. She didn't even want to eat her breakfast. And she's like, nope, I want back in. So here we are. Feisty Friday. Full of surprises. Okay, so today what we're talking about is that God is not Santa Claus. Okay, so there are those different traditions of Santa Claus going about. Our version of him is kind of like the Coca-Cola version, not the version in Europe whatsoever. And then of course you have the other guy. Can't remember his name right now. my friend who grew up in Austria used to Krampus. That's his name, Krampus. Krampus, not so good. Santa, you know. So depending on where you're from in Europe, depends on your story of Santa. I remember hearing about chains and, dragging bad children away. And, it can get wild, right? And sometimes our idea of God is supposed to be reflected through Santa. Now, first of all, Santa comes from Santa, meaning saint, Nicholas, Saint Nicholas. He was an actual saint. I believe he was a bishop. He grew up in like Turkey area, and he was very philanthropist type person. He gave toys to children. He gave to the poor. He made sure people were fed. He was just an all-out good guy, right? However, you may not know that St. Nicholas punched a guy out. I think his name was Arius, 325 BC. He punched the guy out for heresy, for denying the divinity of Christ, meaning that Jesus was fully God and fully man. Aries had deprived him of that fully God. And so, I think the two of you need to stop. This is the peaceful room. Peaceful room. That doesn't mean if you're half outside the peaceful room that you can fight with the cat. And cat, you can stop being World War II with just a claw coming out from behind the futon attacking the dog. They're the stars. Okay, so they understand me. They absolutely understand me because they stopped. Okay, so he did not. He denied the divinity of Christ. So St. Nicholas punched him in the face, punched him out. And at the Council of Nicaea, some of you people know and have heard of the Council of Nicaea. And there for a while, they took away his bishopric because, well, that's not the behavior of a bishop. Later on, I believe they gave it back to him. But it was that, that's Santa Claus. Oh, I got a phone call. I'll have to call them back. So here you have, all these interruptions. It's Feisty Friday, of course. So, St. Nicholas is where we get that version of Santa Claus in our minds of this very generous individual who takes care of children. All right, so moving right along. Mind you, St. Nicholas was not God, and God was not St. Nicholas, but because St. Nicholas was a Christian, well, God was in him. In him. We are the vessels. We are the temples. We're carrying God in us. So that's something to think about the next time you purposely do something that you should not be doing. Which gets us to the point of he knows who is good or bad. Yes, God does know who is good or bad. He's checking the list twice. Checking the list twice. Once, God doesn't need to check the list more than once. He already knows. God, our salvation, which is the ultimate gift. Remember, we're talking about the nativity this week. And we're talking about how my wig is a little itchy, and that, so I'm like, it's we're talking about the nativity. And the part of Christmas about giving gifts, right? It's God giving us the ultimate gift. Now, he didn't give us that ultimate gift on Christmas morning. Christmas morning, when the birth of Christ. Yes, we should celebrate the birth of Christ, but nowhere in the Bible does it talk about celebrating the birth of Christ. Nowhere does it talk about celebrating Christmas. That came from trying to redeem. I talked about the redeeming of the holidays, where there was pagan practices going on, and to redeem those days back, they incorporated, well, let's celebrate this instead of that. However, there's a lot of pagan practices that have come along, like Krampus. Not too many people in the United States know about Krampus. But there's pagan practices, the tree, the December 25th, the birth of the sun. So we're taking the birth of Christ, saying, hey, we're going to celebrate his birth today, but there's no evidence that he was born today. In fact, the evidence shows the contrary. And most theologians that are well studied understand that the shepherds would not have been out at night in the wintertime. It was too cold. The traveling for the census would not have happened during the winter months because it is too cold. And so therefore it would have been on a more mild time frame. All right. We'll continue talking about time as we go on. But so we take the 25th as we'll celebrate, instead of the birth of the sun, but the birth of the sun, the Lord, versus the sun that's in the sky. And so, and the reason why they do that is because the days are starting to get longer, but not necessarily on, that particular day. Because it used to be like the 21st, now it's like the 20th, I guess it fluctuates a little bit. However, it's approximately in around that time frame. So that's when they would celebrate that. The tree, that comes from another pagan holiday. And there's just all these different things, that you wouldn't think are a big deal until you get into the history of where its origins came from. And so, like I said, I'm not going to tell you how to celebrate Christmas. You want to try to redeem it for Christ, go for it. We celebrate it the traditional way. I personally don't have a Christmas tree up because I'm lazy and, well, I'm not lazy, but I work a lot. I just not very productive at it. No, I have a cat and a dog, and both of them would not do well with a tree. We've had cats and dogs before with trees. These particular pets, creatures, family members, not so good with a tree. So just save us some time, heartache, energy. I don't have any little children in my house. Nobody's coming over to see the Christmas tree. We're good. But, you know, we do celebrate it the traditional way of how Americans celebrate Christmas. But I always try to focus Christ versus all the other stuff. So we're talking about this list, checking it twice, you know. Have you been good or bad? Have you been naughty or nice? And then if you're not nice, you get a lump of coal. Now, what that teaches children that normally children don't get a lump of coal, do they? No matter how obnoxious they've been all year long. Believe me, I work at a school. There'd be a lot of coal in the stockings. A lot of it. All right. But not one of them are going to get coal. Not unless it's a little joke. Oh, here's a little coal along with all your gifts. You know, here's some really great gifts. Hey, you got an ATV. All right, cool beans. You got a Nintendo Switch, whatever. Those are probably old toys, probably gone by already, and something new's out right now, but I don't know what it is. So anyways, the whole thing is that if you're bad, that you're going to get this lump of coal, but you never do. So now you're saying, oh, if I'm bad, there's really no consequences. There's really no consequences. And then on the flip side, you're good. You're getting all the gifts. Hey, yeah, I was so good. I got all these gifts. Yeah. That's how good I am. So equating God to Santa is like saying, yeah, God's going to give me good gifts because I'm good. But that's not how God works. And it's not how he operates. Right? The only reason we have this ultimate gift is we receive that ultimate gift. First you have to receive it. There can be a package under the tree waiting for the person to receive it and open it. And as long as they never receive it and open it, it's just a package under the tree. And God's ultimate package was Resurrection Sunday. It was Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. We celebrate. It's biblical. It's scriptural to celebrate the death and resurrection of Christ. The death and resurrection. Not Easter. Easter's the Easter bunny. Pagan stuff. Again, as Americans, we celebrate Easter the traditional way because we're with family, and not all of family believe the same way we do, and we're not going to be the bah humbug and the, when we know what the day is really for. The day is really for Christ. And so focusing on Christ versus the Easter bunny getting all the attention, that's what I would rather do. Okay? So it is scriptural, though, to celebrate the death and resurrection of Christ. However, it never says it to celebrate his birth. And part of the reason why we really don't know the day is because God didn't say to celebrate it. Right? Oh, it's getting warm in here. Oh, so feisty, getting feisty. So when we're telling kids that, oh, if you're good, you're going to get all these good gifts. And then you have kids that are really, really good, but their parents don't have much money. Their family doesn't have much money. And they go to school after Christmas, and all these kids are talking about all these wonderful gifts they got. and they were cantankerous and obnoxious and sometimes a bully, and yet they got good gifts. And this poor kid who's been good all year long, nothing, or very little. Very little. And that tells him, oh, it doesn't matter whether I'm good or not. It doesn't matter whether I'm good or not because I don't deserve anything good. And that's not the case. That is not God. That is not God. But to tell kids that if they're good, they're going to receive from Santa, that's telling kids, if I work hard enough, if I'm good enough, then I can receive God's gift. And that is not the case, because it wouldn't be a gift. That would be earned. And a gift is not earned. But this idea that good or bad, if you're good or bad, naughty or nice, that'll depend on whether you get a coal or you get gifts. It's sending a wrong message to children because people are equating, adults too, are equating Santa with God. And God is not Santa. God is not Santa. St. Nicholas was a real guy that served God. And he served God in a way that he was so passionate about it that he punched a guy out for not giving Christ his deity. He would want Christ to be first. Not somewhere down the line past the ho, ho, ho. So, this year, when you're celebrating Christmas, think about the real St. Nicholas. Maybe do a little research on him. Think about Santa. What are the messages that we're telling our children? What are the messages that we're telling ourselves because we grew up with these concepts? How are we redeeming the day? It's Fiesty Friday, but I'm feeling less feisty at this point. I feel like I feistied myself out on this subject. God is not Santa, and Santa is certainly not God. All right, that's all I have for you today. Go back and watch this later tonight on YouTube. Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile. Mona E. Harrison, go over there, subscribe, hit notifications, Facebook and YouTube, like, share, comment, and I will see you on Monday. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day, and that's it. Oh, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Rhonda, for watching, and have a blessed weekend. All right, bye.